Welcome to the August 2024 CIECA webinar, Curiosity Lab, where emerging technology is tested and demonstrated. I'm Paul Berry, Executive Director for CIECA. The Collision Industry Electronic Commerce Association, or CIECA, develops and promotes the electronic communication standards that allow the collision industry to be more efficient. We also provide webinars like this one to help educate both members and non-members on trends that impact systems, processes, and the exchange of data across the industry. Today's presenter is Seth Yurman, Assistant City Manager for the City of Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Seth is responsible for the development of Curiosity Lab, a 5G-enabled living laboratory in Peachtree Corners. It's for startups and established companies to deploy and prove out developing technologies. As we start the webinar, I want to remind you there is no verbal communication between the participants and the presenter. If you have questions during the webinar, please type them in the question panel on the webinar screen, and we'll answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. And now I'll turn the program over to Seth.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it, and honored to be on this webinar. Thank you, CIECA, and really looking forward to speaking to you all about Curiosity Lab. As Paul said, I'm Seth Yurman, one of the two assistant city managers we have here at the City of Peachtree Corners, suburb just north of Atlanta. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, in addition to just kind of normal local municipal operations, I do land development, environmental protection, economic development, facilities. I'm an ex-developer, so I get my hands dirty quite a bit. But probably one of my most enjoyed aspects of working here is the Curiosity Lab that I'll be talking to you about, and talking a little bit about some of the infrastructure, some of the automotive CV2X infrastructure we have, and kind of where we're going in that direction. So thank you all for joining, and I'll kick it off right now. This is where emerging technology is tested and demonstration, Curiosity Lab at Peachtree Corners. A little bit of history. For those of you who are not familiar with where we are or the area or what I'm talking about, I'll certainly define what Curiosity Lab is, but wanted to kind of give you a feel for what's going on in the area. We are a very new city. We're 12 years old, in fact, so very new as far as the city history goes. But the area here, kind of a suburb, unincorporated Gwinnett County before the city was incorporated, was pretty successful in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s. Started forming a community up here. There was a couple prominent folks that came out of Georgia Tech, Georgia Institution of Technology, little college you've heard of probably in Atlanta. Couple of smart people came out of there and noticed that a lot of the smart people they were graduating with were leaving the area, about brain drain, if you will. And so some of the folks that really liked this area were thinking, how do we keep this talent from leaving? And let's, especially in the engineering technology field, let's create this little suburb here. And so that was the initial idea. The first thing that was really built in the late 70s is an area called Technology Park. It's one of the first ones in this region. Collection of office buildings geared to technology. Of all sorts, and that caught on pretty well. And as that caught on and people started moving businesses here, a residential component kind of built around that, houses, rooftops, retail. We have a Chattahoochee River, 7 miles of the Chattahoochee River we front on. So a nice area for a city to eventually come along in 2012 and develop. But the footprint was for the technology and for this kind of business component was here 40, 50 years ago. As you see on the screen, we have a lot of companies, a lot of headquarters here, a lot of Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. We're uniquely situated. We're really close to the airport. We've got a good job to resident ratio, so kind of a largest city in the county, and one of two cities in Georgia that do not have a millage rate. There's no property tax in the city of Peachtree Corners. So we rely heavily on occupational licenses, business licenses, basically, and revenue from that. But the no property tax does kind of make it an attractive place to come, not only for residents, but business. And it's been really good in that respect. So a little bit about the history of where we are. As we have developed as a city. Probably about 6, 7 years ago now, the idea for a curiosity lab, or really the before that, an idea to leverage some of the infrastructure we have, some of the assets as a city that we have and we own. And we're thinking, how could we do this? How could we kind of make our city a little bit more, open up parts of the city, attract a little bit more attention? Early on, 6, 7 years ago, the Curiosity Lab idea didn't form, but we wanted something for economic development, bring people into the region. And so we started thinking through the Curiosity Lab. I say we, it predates me. So I've kind of inherited a lot of it, but the actual initial development of it was a while ago. The Open Curiosity Lab, and I'll get into what that is, 5 years ago. In fact, we're coming up on its 5-year anniversary. You see on the screen here, this yellow region of Peachtree Corners and this blue region of what we call Curiosity Lab. It's a facility with advanced and kind of raised up infrastructure, more than a typical rest of the city, to become kind of a smart city. And I'll go into all of the elements that make that up. You see some of our partners here on the left. You'll see more of them at the end. Business, academia, startups, big, small companies, all sorts of things, and companies kind of combine to make it what it is. More geography of this elevated area of infrastructure, what we call Curiosity Lab, inside this technology park. It's 500 acres. It is all lit up with tri-band coverage of 5G, dedicated and donated to us by T-Mobile. So in debt to them, they are a huge partner of us and continue to be this day. They make the 5G network run, on which everything else you're going to hear about runs. We are right near the airport. You see 20 miles to the airport. We have a 3-mile autonomous vehicle test track, which I'll be talking about as well. So wanted to kind of pin it into the geography of where we're at and what we're doing. But what is it? I mean, Curiosity Lab is best described as a testing and demonstration facility for emerging technology. We are kind of technology agnostic in that we're not saying we have a specific problem, we want to solve it, bring your tech to solve that problem. We're saying anybody who wants to play in our sandbox is welcome to come. We've created an ecosystem of different technology, whether it's dug into the ground, hung on light poles. We've created the ecosystem in which others can come, plug into, test their technology, demonstrate it to clients, to customers, scale it up. And if they want to enter the United States market, North American market from other countries, we've found a lot of success in being a soft landing pad for that kind of activity. Startups that do not have a lot of capital yet can come here, test for free, use our facility for free to scale up, to kind of prove out their emerging technology. Curiosity Lab could really be wrapped up in about 3 or 4 different bullet points. City Street of the Future, our autonomous vehicle track, our mobility platform, and our innovation center. And I want to go into each one of those. So you've heard smart city probably. It's a bit of a nebulous definition. We actually don't use too much just because it's lost a little bit of its meaning. Instead, we're now kind of gearing into different elements of smart city, like CV2X, which I'll talk about, and some other elements. But you see here, we were thinking, and earlier I mentioned, what do we have as a city that we could leverage? Well, cities own roads, and we have infrastructure. And we said, well, there it is. We're going to leverage our right-of-way. We're going to leverage the technology park in which, City Hall is in, and the Innovation Center, which I'll talk about later. All of that area, that 500 acres, we got roads, and we're the only ones that control them. And so it's important to know that not only do we want to create a place where people can test and demonstrate, we want it to be really low bureaucracy. We all deal with bureaucracy, whether it's government or corporate bureaucracy in some way, shape, or form. And our goal is to really reduce that down real quickly, making quick decisions, yes or no, you can do this to our roadway. Most of the time we say yes, we want the world to know this is a place for testing and demonstration. This intersection you're seeing here, pretty typical, but, and this is within Technology Park here, within Curiosity Lab. Pretty typical, but you see a bunch of different modes of transportation, traditional vehicles, autonomous vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, all over there. There's a bus transit stop in the background. They all are, rolling around here every day. What really is going on in the background, it's a testing area. That which you don't see is this. There are messages, SPAT messages coming from traffic signals, CV2X messages transmitting from vehicles to everything else, from vehicle to traffic light, from vehicle to intersection, from vehicle to bikes, if they're the right application and hardware are there. So a lot of testing and demonstration being done on this intersection. I'll come back to this intersection a little bit later. We have the autonomous vehicle track. So a 3-mile track that autonomous vehicles, last mile delivery robots, if you will, could test on them. The vehicles have ranged from large to small. And as they're testing and demoing, we allow riders in the park, staff of the city, Curiosity Lab staff, and other people in the park. There's about 10,000 people that come and work here every day. About 2,000 people live in the park. They're able to kind of take advantage of the testing. We have a new autonomous vehicle coming in September that we're really excited about. And so we continue to provide this platform for autonomous vehicle testing. It's an open course. It's not a closed, oval with a fence. It's an open track, and there presents challenges because it's real world. And this is what we wanted to create for people to come really test in the real world and perfect their product as much as possible. We opened up, many of you probably have similar stories. We are about to hit our 5-year anniversary. That means we opened up in 2019. COVID happened in 2020. We really, wanted companies to really be, descending upon us here to be testing and demonstrating. And many did, but many also said, I can't get over there because of restrictions, whatever it is, especially the international folks. So we said, listen, send over your gear. We'll buy a vehicle and put it on. And at that time, there was a lot of analytic and camera testing and radar, LiDAR stuff that really needed to be tested on a moving vehicle. We said, let's buy the vehicle. Let's allow people to, send their infrastructure to us. We'll plug it in to our system. They can collect the metadata, 6,000 miles away and run their tests. So that's a big component. Didn't plan for it at the beginning, but that has really taken off, kind of the remote usage of Curiosity Lab. And our innovation center, want to talk a little bit about this. This is kind of the brains of it, the headquarters. Curiosity Lab is best known as a facility. It's this, kind of sprawling 500 acres where we've, enhanced the infrastructure, but it really gets run out of this building, the innovation center here. We're an incubator for tech startups. We have corporate innovation on one level. We have startup innovation on another level, kind of divided. But the beauty comes with the synergy and the kind of bumping into each other. A T-Mobile bumps into a startup over coffee in the morning, and they're making a deal and furthering their business that way. So that synergy is really what we've sat back and been in awe of. A lot of good collaborations have come out of it. Just a quick look inside of our lab. Love to have any of you who are interested coming into the Atlanta area. Call me. Let's take you to the lab. I think you'll like it. We have co-working desks. We have all sorts of big, small spaces, conference rooms, a training class, a prototype lab. We're actually about to buy, we're occupying and kind of renovating another building right next to this, just because we've had so much, luck or success with people wanting to be in our innovation center. So buying another building and kind of expanding our operations. But back to this, the intersection. Wanted to really kind of focus a little bit more specifically on auto and mobility. I mentioned before, we're kind of tech agnostic. We have a lot of different kinds of technology going on. Health, biotech is kind of an emerging sector here. But the connectivity and the mobility is what's kind of started and has been a big part of what we're doing. We've seen drones come in, we've seen different camera and kind of lighting applications, but we always seem to kind of get back to the auto, ADAS and kind of the transmitting of the CVX, and that's really what's there. So we've set up a lot of our infrastructure, like I've showed you before, to do this. One of the technologies I mentioned, the CV2X cellular vehicle to everything technology, is kind of the showcase of it. We, about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, outfitted this whole run, this 3 mile lane here, with both roadside units to receive spat messages and other transmitted signals. So they're high up above tree lines. We've got a bunch of roadside units kind of to receive messages. And then we've outfitted our vehicles, a couple of vehicles we have, and then other company vehicles with onboard units, OBUs, to be the counterpart to the roadside unit. So now we have a onboard unit and vehicle. We have multiple roadside units transmitting messages back and forth. Keep in mind, canopy of trees, hills. So it forces the folks using this to kind of make tweaks as a lab would have it. You come in with version 1.0, you find faults, you come out with version 2.0, and hopefully that's the version of your tech that you put out there to the market. So CV2X is simply communication between vehicles, pedestrians, anybody or anything, entity that has this type of technology. There's short range, there's cellular, there's all sorts of different ways that we can do the CV2X. And like I said, T-Mobile is powering much of it. Sorry, there's a little noise there. Just wanted to talk about some pedestrian safety. I mean, the intersection of pedestrian safety and vehicles is very important. Not only just for the sake of people being safe, but it presents unique opportunities to test, whether it's rapid flashing beacons you see here with vehicles being able to transmit signals to crosswalks, and it lights up the crosswalk and allows everybody to be safe and cross it. Even if the pedestrian comes up to the crosswalk and just starts walking, there'll be LiDAR and different detection of that person. So everything gets lit up. There's signs that alert cars to oncoming pedestrians. And so a lot of our work with CV2X is working with the interaction of auto and humans. Vulnerable road users is something that we've dealt with a lot as well. Vulnerable road users is basically anybody utilizing the right of way that's not in a vehicle, or traditional, like an automotive vehicle. So bikes, scooters, pedestrians. Those are folks that are using up and down our technology park sidewalks. And we've been pretty proactive as a city. We want people to be walking, getting out of their buildings, going out, walking down the road, getting a little exercise. And so we create, different modes for that. We create multi-use sidewalks. We've got about 11 miles in that the city has put in. We want to create a good walking environment, but in doing so, you create these conflict points. People have to cross lanes, and so we've invested a lot in the safety part of that. And really wanted to kind of, emphasize a lot of that. Now, in doing so, we're not only working with OEMs, like Audi is a good partner of ours. We've been working with Honda and Ford as of late as well. And the ADAS systems that they're using. We have a partner that started up with us called Broadman 17. It was an Israeli company, and that was our original ADAS partner. And they had set up a lot of our CV2X applications. Now we're kind of running the CV2X, us and T-Mobile. But it takes a lot to do it. And, I guess relevant to a lot of y'all out there is in the collision industry and collision repair, and you deal with ADAS systems. These things become more complex. Repairing them becomes more complex. And so, it's important for us that we continue to find companies that are working in ADAS and this mobility platform to continue to use the lab so we can, help advance some of that technology, and, that hits your industry. And so that's why I'm always kind of thrilled to be hooked up with your group here. So what we've created is kind of this complete intersection situation, meaning we have CV2X, we have all of the infrastructure that can transmit signals from vehicles to bicycles that test here, that have little hardware you see here in the video. That's a hardware called Spoke Safety. They have a partnership with Audi, who both have partnership with us to test and demonstrate their CV2X applications. And as you see on the video, as these vehicles are rolling by, they're able to pick up, location, speed, direction of other things, other vulnerable road users, and it puts them on the map, an on-screen display, an on-dash display of where all of these, skateboarders are, whether they're in or out of field of vision. And so that's kind of the beauty of it. You're able to see over that hill, over through the tree in this area, and it's quite impressive that the application it can have in the real world. How do we get there? I mean, it is a partnership-driven business. We could not do it without the partners. We merely, like I said at the beginning, are people that had the idea, and we said, all right, we can leverage our right-of-way. We'll invest in infrastructure and kind of this, elevated technology, but just kind of creating the sandbox. Like I said, other people, smarter people than us, I can guarantee you that, will come with their technology and say, oh yeah, I need that. That's exactly what I'm needing. Or maybe that's not exactly what I need to test my technology. And they'll ask us, hey, could you put another pole up and I can hang something right here? We sure can, because we want that, we want to promote that in the Curiosity Lab facility. And here's a thing that's really important to know. I mentioned that users of the lab, can do so for free, test and plug in. It is not a revenue generator for us. We're a city government. We fund, the city government funds the Curiosity Lab. It's a separate organization from the city. But really what Curiosity Lab is an economic development initiative. That's what's driving our decisions to Curiosity Lab. Curiosity Lab brings people to the city. And that's what we like as city people. Vibrant, cities, restaurants are filled up, hotels are filled up, people walking around, hanging out, listening to music, whatever the case may be. And so every time that there are testers, demonstrators at the lab, they have to eat, they have to stay somewhere. They're bringing in clients, whether from overseas or domestic places. And that brings excitement and vibrancy to our community. And so that helps the economic development. Mentioned we don't have property tax, so we rely heavily on the retail, the hotel, that kind of the excise tax. So that's where we make our money. That's how we're able to then reinvest back into Curiosity Lab. So it's an economic development initiative, and it's important to know that. And that's why I think it's been successful. We're able to subsidize people's usage of this. It's not a barrier for startups to come and do this because we're not charging them anything to do it. So that's kind of some of the secret sauce that I just let out there. Want to talk about some use cases, some of the uses and test cases that have been brought forth here at the lab. Like I said, most of them involve our autonomous and advanced vehicle testing track. We've seen some of this, whether it's CV2X applications, whether it's autonomous vehicles, whether it's last mile delivery applications, LiDAR applications, all sorts of different applications in tech sectors using our infrastructure. And we've just recently expanded our track a little bit out into kind of adjacent to a state road. So first venture outside of our local roads. Have to get state permitting. There, a little more bureaucracy comes in it, but we felt it a worthy thing to get our track, our facility, our technology out on the main road and try to get it up to actually where our downtown is. We have Peachtree Corners has a town center, and it's a nice area where we have parks and there's retail and there's shopping, and it's a cool little vibe there. We want to, extend the track and the ability for people to get up there through the Curiosity Lab technology corridor, and then eventually, try to overlay the whole city with it, with this advanced technology. So a lot of that has happened, and the way that we've made that happen is that we've integrated our roadway to the technology in a way that's been, fortunately attractive to many technology companies out there. A lot of tests and demonstrations. That's mostly what we do. In fact, more demonstrations at this point. It started out with testing, but now I think we have a unique enough environment and an ecosystem here that more and more companies are kind of getting hip to it and are like, we have this technology that's already there. We just need a place to show our customer that we want to sell it to. come on, bring it here and demonstrate, whether it's kind of these remotely teleoperated scooters you see on the top left. Looks like, you know, ghosts are driving these scooters, kind of like a ride share situation. You've seen these scooters all around cities. These will autonomous or remotely drive back to a charging location. Or if I'm, you know, on my app, I can punch it up and this, you know, teleoperated scooter, no driver, will come right to me, which is freaky and cool at the same time. Drone, as I mentioned, a lot of drone applications, a few different drone companies doing testing, whether it's last mile, whether it's construction survey type stuff, whether it's tying rebar together for concrete pours. Drones are being tested to take the place of what, you know, humans have done. For better or for worse, we're allowing that testing and seeing where that goes. So a lot of different applications being tested at the same time, and it's really kind of unlimited, the creativity of these tech companies, and I'm impressed every day with the imagination and execution of these tech companies. As I said, much smarter than we are. You know, one of the reasons that this works, whether it's from the mobility and automotive space that we work with Audi, with the CV2X, or it's the drone, or it's biotech testing, agricultural testing, whatever it is, the reason it works is something I alluded to earlier, is that we say yes a lot. We want this activity. We control the roads. I mean, you're looking at one of 3 people that, you know, can give an approval to tear up a road, to hang another light pole, to, you know, put a pipe in the ground. So we make pretty quick decisions here. We want this activity, and unless it's going to blow something up or, you know, impact private property in a negative way, we're going to let you use our right of way to do it, and we'll help you out with it. A lot of times we're spending our funds to, you know, kind of create little improvements that their technology companies come here and use. Just a couple of other examples on the you know, kind of tech side of it, and especially the AV and EV, electric vehicle side of it. We do have some electric vehicle, a lot of charging companies are doing testing here. A really cool kind of company experiments going on between a French company and a Georgia company. And they have this solar roadway. It's on top there, the first 3 on top. It's about a 40-foot strip of photovoltaic cells, solar cells, covered with a durable driving surface. And its goal is to passively collect solar radiation, turn it into electricity, route it up to a battery, which you see here in the middle picture. There's a City Hall parking lot. There's a battery, and there's a charging station for EV, for electric vehicle right there. The beauty of this experiment is it's completely off the grid. The utility power provider is not involved in this, and just this little strip will power up your vehicle. The real application is, you know, throwing these things up I-85, I-75, the interstates of the country or other countries, and as it's just sitting there, it's collecting solar, it's routing it to batteries, and kind of creating the electric vehicle network that eventually will have to be there like gas stations currently are. Not sure of how that's going to transition, but we're certainly open for people coming in and testing in our ecosystem to that end. We've allowed a company called Pipe Dream, which we were a little skeptical about, but they an underground logistics, kind of a last mile delivery, put an 18-inch pipe into our right of way, and routed it to a local restaurant about a mile away. And they're currently testing the quick delivery of food or other parcels into this pipe from one area to another. The end of this pipe is in our innovation center, but again, the scaled up application would be in a new residential subdivision. Instead of the Amazon driver going all the way to the front door, they maybe go to the amenity area, a clubhouse, or some other designated area at the front of the subdivision, or it could be a retail, you know, a mall or shopping center. And these, you know, network of underground tubes are there that could be routed right to the different addresses, you know, houses, shops, whatever it is. So cool company. They haven't done their big test yet. We're waiting for that, but their pipe dream may soon become a reality. So that's another cool thing that we've done here. Partnerships and global cooperation. So you know, what has amazed me in the last 5 years since I've been involved with this is, you know, technology and similar forms of technology do not happen in, you know, just one place on Earth. There are the same type of technologies being developed in advanced all throughout the world. And it's impressed me how many other countries have had this, except a lot of it is kind of developing in silos. So one of our objectives of Curiosity Lab is not only to be a landing spot for companies to come, but it's to market Curiosity Lab to other countries that are developing similar technologies, that want a landing spot, that want to enter the market in the United States, because that's where it happens. The European Union has a good market, but the United States continues to be the hot spot. Traditionally, it's been Silicon Valley. You've all heard of that. We dub ourselves Silicon Orchard. It is the East Coast to Silicon Valley, a little bit easier for Europeans to get to. And Silicon Valley, does great stuff and traditionally has. Kind of expensive. You're kind of a small fish in a big ocean out there. But maybe that's the thing. Here in Silicon Orchard, in the Southeast United States, and specifically, sorry, my light keeps going on, and specifically in Georgia and Peachtree Corners here, you're a pretty big fish in a smaller ocean. Cost of living is different. So it's more attractive to startups, and that's, I think, part of our success as well. So all of these companies and different groups you see here, whether it's corporate enterprise, startups, academia, they have all come in and made Curiosity Lab a better place. They've added something to it. They have formed a synergy with a small or larger company and have moved on. Some of the startups have graduated and gone on and gotten contracts with larger companies. And that's what we're here for. We want to be a landing spot, an incubator for startups, a place for corporate innovation to better everything as much as possible. And we just kind of provide the ecosystem to do so. Some of our recent trips, just got back from a trip to the Nordic region, Sweden and Finland. Talked about Curiosity Lab, ton of smart people out there, very hungry, green technology, very cool stuff going on out there. And we've already had, from our trip, some delegations from there coming here in September and October of this year, one in March of next year, to check out the lab. Because again, it's free. And if you can get here, you've got it made. And so it's something important that we really do emphasize. We go to all sorts of different places, been to Israel. Group is going to Japan later this year. So really neat stuff, really cool. It's a cool part of what we're doing here. The kind of summary of all of what I just said there, why Curiosity Lab, what makes us different, what makes us unique, really can be summarized in these bullets right here. We've got a live 5G wireless environment. It's not just the normal 5G you see on this, your phones. This has all 3 bands, low, medium, high, and different tech is plugged into different bands, ultra fast, low latency. And so it's a unique ecosystem that way. As I mentioned, we own the infrastructure, the city government. Make quick decisions, most of the time are yes. So we are a willing, partner for these companies. We don't charge for the ecosystem, the infrastructure. You come here, you use it for free. When you're done, here's your data. We don't need it. It's segregated from open records requests and normal city type operations. That data could be yours. We like it too for just metadata and analytics, but we don't require any intellectual property. We don't get a cut of inventions. Wish we did, because we'd all be rich. But that's not what we're in it for. We just want to create the platform for it and again, reap the economic development benefit from it. One of the things I do want to emphasize is the cybersecurity component of this. Huge. We go through an annual certification, a NIST certification, which is the highest level of security, data security you can get in the country for unclassified data, which this is. So we lock it down from a cyber standpoint. We actually have had users of the labs we now are customers for, whether it's our cloud cyber protection, whether it's kind of the edge compute and the edge of the network and the hardware we have. It's all locked down pretty hard. We even have hackathons. Try to hack into our system. If you can, you win a car. We haven't given that car away yet. I hope we don't, because it's a Mustang Mach-E. It's kind of cool. So we, invite people to our lab. We are unique, not only in this country, but all around the world. We are kind of increasingly being put on the map, and invite every one of you, if you're in this area, please come by and visit. And with the time left, I suppose we can do any questions and all that. And again, I really appreciate Paulette, Paul, Stacy, and the whole CIECA community for having us. This is a great thing. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Seth. I'd like to introduce Stacy Phillips, CIECA's Marketing Director. She's been monitoring the webinar for questions. Stacy, do we have any questions for Seth?
Yes, Seth. What is the process to visit Curiosity Lab, and how do we explore opportunities with the facility?
Good. So I could certainly, and Stacy, you got my contact information. You're certainly welcome to share it with any and all on this call or your entire organization. Process for visiting is just contacting me. We'll make it easy. There's a number of us here that work with Curiosity Lab, but if you are interested in just knowing more of the capacity, capabilities, coming in for a tour, you want to ride the autonomous vehicle, happy to give out my information or whatever's easier to do that. But really, yeah, just contacting me and we'll hook it up. As far as partnerships, if you are in a company or know people that are looking for a testing and demonstration facility like this, again, contact me. I'll hook you up with the smart people, our CTO and kind of the tech folks that really kind of get into seeing, okay, what do you want to do? How could we match it up? So yeah, the answer to that question is contact me.
Thank you. Are there plans to expand the advanced infrastructure of the lab outside of Tech Park and its current confines?
Yes, there are. Little bit alluded to in this presentation there. We're kind of leaving the 500 acres and trying to go north up what we call Peachtree Parkway here, but it's a state route. So that's kind of one of our expansion plans. We're working with our Georgia Department of Transportation on that. We bought a new building, so there's an expansion there. We're looking at expanding down to the south side and across the road as well. So yeah, the goal is to continue to develop as we've been developing, continue to enlarge our footprint in which we implement and put out this advanced technology. The goal, the dream is to have the whole city this way, have it in one big technology testing and demonstration area, not only benefiting companies, but really benefiting the residents, again, from the economic development standpoint, but the enhanced safety and security that a lot of our technology puts out there. Expanding Curiosity Lab is important because our residents ask about it all the time. Like, what is it doing for me? And a lot of times, and one of the easiest examples is we've replaced many of our light heads in the city property and other areas from traditional kind of Cobra, street lights to smarter street lights, putting out the same amount of lumens, foot candles, but can dim at certain times to conserve energy. There are also cameras. There are also 360-degree cameras or pan, tilt, zoom cameras that we are plugged into, and we can monitor. It records, and so there creates some safety there. And then finally, all of those light heads that we've been implementing have wireless access points. So creating this, citywide wireless Wi-Fi network is important to us as well. And so those are kind of part of how we're expanding our operations.
That sounds really interesting. We have another question. Do you feel that cyclists and pedestrians will need to purchase hardware in the future to communicate with the smart city? Or do you think a mobile phone app would be enough?
I think so. At this point, it's a good question. There's an evolution of technology and think back before cell phones, you had like the big phone, you had to unzip in the car kind of a thing. And now it's, to where we're at now. Currently, for example, the Audi Spoke partnership. Audi has an application on screen that transmits signals to this Spoke hardware. So yes, in the near term, short term, it's a hardware approach. There's probably a separate piece of hardware you buy, put it in the school book bag for the kid, attach it to the vehicle or the bike or the scooter. So yeah, in the near term, it's probably going to be a specific hardware piece. As cell phones continue to develop, and they're pretty, computers now, that will probably be an application that could be on your cell phone. Current cell phones don't have that transmitting, ability right now. the way you'd think they do. They have the normal cellular transmittal and the Wi-Fi transmittal, but these are different messages. So yes, right now hardware, probably later cell phones.
Excellent. I think those are all the questions for now, unless anyone has any others. So thank you, Seth.
Great. Well, thank you. This presentation has been recorded and will be available later today at CIECA.com. I would invite you to check CIECA.com for a schedule of future broadcasts and to watch recordings of past webinars. Links are available under the meetings and events. CIECA has partnered with the Automotive Management Institute. Attendees of this webinar are eligible to receive credit towards a professional designation from AMI after taking a short quiz on its website. A link will be sent out to all attendees. And please follow CIECA's social media platforms to stay up to date on upcoming events and CIECA news. And I'd like to thank Seth Yurman from Curiosity Lab in Peachtree City for joining us today. It was very interesting and we appreciate your time. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And that concludes today's webinar.